Eid Mubarak, you know what I'm saying? Just little bars for the Eid Mubars, you feel me? Yeah. Let's go. Tell them welcome to the rarefied RFI, can't be up here terrified. Pterodactyl sharing, Red Baron meets Tuskegee Airman vibes. Barrel rolling, Darren dives, and back to base like he Derek Hodge. Say my prayers like I'm scared of God. In my backyard doing samurai moves, wearing pods. He's kinda square and odd, from an era where we called sharing cobs. Being on Ohio, we want sharing cars. Mind of Aristotle, larynx of a professor emeritus. You might be your cities, but I'm America's. Fill in the blanks, kill 'em with thanks.
You know I'm just a flight away. If you want it, you could take a private plane.
All right, people. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newsroom and welcome to the Goutopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report, brought to you by, well, the pseudo Snort Report, brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company. Let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see here. We're going to go ahead and go with a video brought to us by Hate Army Watch. Salt shower at the Snort Fort. DSP derails his stream to rant on a variety of various topics. Sorry, this is from August 29th of 2021. The link will be down in the description. Let's go ahead and just get into the situation proper, shall we? You know what I'm saying? Let's stop all the talking and get to the talking. I'll see you guys in a second.
Like surveys. I'm just studying religion, chill, interrupt my sessions with phone calls from prison. Been out the game, Hall of Fame reported me missing. When the goal is album mode, I'll be back to get my position.
You know I'm just a flight away. If you want it, you could take a private plane. A kilómetros estamos conectando. Y me prendes aunque no me estés tocando. You know I got a lot to say. All these voices in the background of my brain. Y me dicen todo lo que estás pensando. Me imagino lo que ya estás maquinando.
No, see, only if you're desperate, do you think there would be any company that would be willing to risk it, to have a sponsorship with me? No. Here's the thing. Here's how sponsorships and marketing.
Okay, that's an interesting way to start it off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here yet again with the Hate Army Watch. Let me see here. Salt shower at the Snort Fort. DSP derails his stream to rant about various topics. This is from August 29th, I believe. August 29th of 2021. Yet again, the link will be down in the description. I like how we started off with, do you think any company will take a risk sponsoring you, despite the fact that he has had companies that have sponsored him? The last sponsored product that he did was the paddles for the Nintendo Switch, I believe. Either that or when he was given the review copy of, or influencer copy, however you want to word it, of Mario Sonic Winter Olympics. I think that's what the game was called. So, yeah, plenty of people have taken risks on them. But whatever. Let's argue semantics on this. Let's go ahead and bring it back from the beginning. And let's hear it for what it is, I suppose. Oh, my God. Got to be the victim in everything.
No, see, only if you're desperate, do you think there would be any company that would be willing to risk it, to have a sponsorship with me? No. Here's the thing. Here's how sponsorships and marketing work, okay? You have to have a situation where you feel the exposure your product or service will get by having a sponsorship deal is going to give you enough positive to outweigh any negative, all right? Now, let's say right now, there's a new controller for the console, and someone sends me the controller, and I test, oh, it's great. They may sell, what, a couple hundred controllers tops as a result of my sponsorship? But then, if for 2 straight weeks, assholes harass their social media, they can't even use their social media because all there is toxic comments to everything they say and do, the couple hundred sales, did it really equate to having that happen, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing is, the people who criticize me the harshest, okay, the most harsh criticism that I hear is, Phil's streams, he talks too much about money, and he asks too much from his viewers. When Phil has an issue with money, he appeals to his viewers for it, and that's not right. Right? Everyone else has a job, they earn their money, but Phil doesn't earn, he just begs on stream, okay? But here's the thing.
I wouldn't say that was I wouldn't even say that was the even most harsh of the criticism that's posed against you. I would say that's actually being rather reasonable, except for maybe the end part, and that's where I step in. You only beg. That's all you do. That's all your streams are consistent of. There isn't any gameplay. There isn't any insight. There isn't any entertainment. It's mainly, hey, I'm here doing this thing. Give me money for doing this thing. It's not about the game. It's about you. And it's been like that for a number of years. And the argument still, and there's an argument raging. It's not really an argument, but it's more of a point of discussion on when did you actually give up on loving games or even like playing games. I argue that stopped a long time ago, 2016 probably. And one of the things that I think really exacerbates that situation, or that point, I should say, is the fact that he has seen how his quote-unquote legacy has played out. And that's very much what it is. It's played out. He has nothing. He'll be known for nothing that he can stand on at any period of time. Because he's tried. He's tried to stand on his legacy and or his accomplishments throughout various times throughout his quote-unquote internet career. And it's always failed. Just like he did with the FGC. And it always failed. He doesn't have anything. He'll always be known as, you're the guy. He'll always be known for that. He'll never escape it. Period. That right there is essentially the high point, quote unquote, of any type of notoriety that he's ever had. He was never popular. I'm sorry, but he wasn't. You know what I'm saying? He's always been well known. Now he's more infamous than anything and can't profit off of it, which is even more amazing, to be honest. Excuse me, which is even more amazing. But that's really what it comes down to. Now, his disdain for video games, for the video game industry, and for his peers comes from the fact that people were actually able to do something outside of this. They use this as a springboard to do other things, right? Like, even they were able to make a name on this or outside of this, or were able to build something within this. He never did. He looked at it as a 9-to-5. He looked at it as a paycheck. He looked at it as the biggest paycheck he ever made. And that was it. A boss doesn't think that way. An owner doesn't think that way. An employee thinks that way. And that's exactly what he is. And because he has the mindset of an owner, him, Wings, as well as a few other people, are basically in the situation where they're essentially just working dead-end jobs. This is what streaming and content creation on YouTube and Twitch or online in general has become. It's become another 9-to-5 dead-end job. They can't leave because they're too comfortable and they won't be able to make any money, or they won't be able to make as much money doing something else because they don't have the skills, they don't have the know-how. And even within the field that they're in right now, they have nothing on the ball. They have nothing that they can tell you to make them better. They're just stuck with whatever they're stuck with. And as time has gone on, and as you've seen his nonsense on Twitter, you've seen that play out. You've seen how he's driven himself into obscurity, to be honest with you, trying to chase relevancy. That's what it comes down to. And to cap off that point, if you will, the reason why he believes that people won't take a risk on him or sponsor him, despite the fact that he's already been sponsored, or gets influencer copies or whatever the case may be, is because they're not presented to him. He has to go out and get it. And he doesn't want to do that. He feels that takes away from his legacy. It takes away from whatever quote unquote status he may or may not have. That's what he means. And even if he does go out and get the deal himself, he won't get the money that other people get. And he knows it. And it pisses him off because he feels that he can contribute to the gaming atmosphere as much as they can, as the gaming landscape or community, as much as anybody else. But he can't. He really can't. His hot takes on pre-streams, the ATKs or Ask the Kings, those prove it. Those prove it. That he's as disconnected from the gaming community as someone who's stepping in at day one. And even then, by the end of that same day, they would know more or have a better understanding of it than Darkside Phil would. And that's what irks him. That's what pisses him off. He can keep blaming the trolls and haters and all this all he wants, but if he wasn't such a hypocrite, this wouldn't be a problem. The very same people who have all these opportunities and quote unquote shill or sell out to all these products and companies, right? That he says he's been cut off from are the very people who he's called sellouts, shills. They're a deficit on the gaming community. They don't deserve to be here. They shouldn't be here. They already made their money. They already have a bunch of money. Why can't they open up the landscape for everybody else? Yet again, he comes across as someone who wants to be pampered and be catered to merely because he exists, not because what he provides. Because in truth, ladies and gentlemen, he provides nothing. Because he is nothing.
Those very same people who harass any spot.
Sorry, I had a second point. The second point was if he was to endorse a controller, as he said, and he could move a few hundred units. Okay, let's go with that. Did you help move a few hundred units with those paddles that you got for the Nintendo Switch? Did you help sell a few hundred copies of Mario Sonic Winter Olympics? Did he do any of those things, first off foremost? Those two questions. No? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Has he sold a few hundred shirts, or does he sell a few hundred shirts each and every month on Teespring? No? Okay. If he did have the power to move products, right? If he was able to convince a few hundred people each and every month to buy this particular product, yeah? Why can't he why doesn't he have a few hundred people contributing to him on Patreon? Why doesn't he have a few hundred people, yet again, buying from Teespring? Why doesn't he have a few hundred different people, unique individuals, who give him money on his streams or contribute to his PayPal, as far as we know? You don't see any of that. He barely has a few hundred people on stream in general, and most of them are trolls. So if he has a few hundred people that he can, if his reach is strong enough, that he can get a few hundred people to buy a $20 or $60 peripheral, he can't get a few hundred people to throw up $5 a piece a day to exceed the tips goal on both streams? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And there's not a few hundred people buying from his Teespring because he doesn't show his Teespring. He doesn't talk about it. Same thing with Patreon. He don't talk about it. If nothing else, it benefits Phil not to talk about Patreon because the people who are more than likely contributing it are all on a reoccurring deduction from their accounts anyway. It pays off. They're in a monthly payment program, I should say. So it benefits him to not bring that up. Most of those people, I assume, that give money to Phil are probably gone when it comes to Patreon. That's my guess, I should say. So what does he have? And then look at what he provides. Look at what he provides, which is the appeal to any company, right, who would be looking to do business with him. What does he have that makes him marketable? Anybody can get free shit on the internet, but what makes him marketable that someone would want to stand behind that? He wants to cry about a chair from like 3 or 4 years ago. Well, 2 of them, theoretically. 1 of them he got. But he wants to cry about some chairs. He wants to cry about what other little opportunities that allegedly happened behind the scenes that he had, but he didn't want to speak about it because the trolls fucked it up. Well, why don't you just go ahead and talk about what that endorsement was? You didn't have one. And then literally in the last couple of weeks, he said that someone approached him about a clothing deal, and he said he turned it down. This is the same guy who has told us year in, year out that I'm an independent content creator. I have no corporate backing and sponsorship. Well, that's his fault. He's the one who said, I don't want to be a shill. I don't want to be a walking billboard. I don't want to be a talking head for some major corporation to do it just for money. I do this because I love games. So I would rather take crowdfunding. I would rather take all of you idiots' money than take corporate money. When in actuality, if he had the opportunity, he would try to take both. He would take the corporate money and he would take these idiots' money. But he can't do both. And then he's indoctrinated these people he's instilled in these people, I should say, let's reword it. He's instilled in these people so much ire for people who actually do, sponsorships or do have endorsements or who do get advanced copies or whatever, that if he did it, they'd call him a hypocrite. And he would still justify it, but he would lose some people because of it. And you've seen that throughout the duration of his YouTube career. But he, in his head, he keeps justifying it by the situation. He can't think in the long term. Everything's in the short term. And that's what hurts him. The reason why the detractor community in general exists is because of that factor. It's uncommon, or it's not uncommon, but it's very inconsistent to find someone who can only see the next day and that's it. That lives only one day at a time. You know what I mean? Outside of some extraordinary circumstances, of course. But it's kind of unique to find something like that or find somebody like that. And DSP is a great example of it. And he's a great example of what short-term thinking does to anybody and everybody in the long term. That's why he's at where he's at. So to say that he could move a few hundred units is bullshit. Absolute fucking bullshit. I would say that maybe he could convince 10 people to buy it. Maybe 20 if you want to be generous. But a few hundred? Nah, I don't think so. If that was the case, he would try to shill more to them. He doesn't. He just keeps begging for tips and gifted memberships. It sounds to me like someone who's at the end of his own rope. And it sounds to me like someone who squandered the, not wealth, but the financial resources that he had amongst his, I was going to say flock, but his pig pen, if you will, or his little cult, or whatever you want to call it. It sounds like someone who has squandered all of that. And now he's been reduced to the lowest common denominator. And it's slowly but surely seeping in that, you know what, I fucked up and I may not have a way out. And let's be honest, that Twitch situation, or his situation on Twitch, I should say, it wasn't going to last like that forever. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't going to last like that forever. If he made it to October, November, you know what I'm saying, in the financial situation he was on Twitch, I'd have been surprised. There's no way you can sustain something like that.
Sponsorship opportunity I've ever had to make them go away, right? Products that I would stand by, games. For example, I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey already on Twitch. I already had a playthrough going. I liked the game. I did a sponsored stream of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, okay? Made money doing it, and then guess what they did? They went and harassed Ubisoft and the game developers of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and they got me blacklisted from that campaign, so I could never do a sponsored stream ever again on Twitch. That's exactly what happened.
That's not what happened. What actually happened is his first sponsored stream of doing ELO Hell, the Good Samaritans reached out to them and they were like, hey, you should probably be a little bit more considerate on the people that you're going ahead and doing endorsements on. On top of the fact that he had low views for that anyway. But you might want to take a look at some of this. They saw it. They reached out to Twitch and were like, hey, we don't want any of our products or anything to be associated with this guy, which that company is in the right to do so. That's what he was. He wasn't in. They just said they didn't want to have any association with him. He wasn't blackballed from the Twitch bounty program. Now, let's move on to the next game, which was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. He did play it a week before he did the bounty board. He shitted on that game a little bit, actually a good amount, actually, that first week, or the week that he was playing it. But then, when it was on the bounty board, and he was playing it, and he was making that bounty money, then all of a sudden, it was Hallmark cards and bubblegum. We didn't have too many complaints anymore. We were acting like everything was good, which is ironic because that's the same behavior that sellouts and shills and corporate heads and everything do. He's talked about that on Twitter plenty of times. These people who can't state their opinions because they're being paid. These same people who give glowing reviews to games and shit, despite only because they're being paid and that's not their true opinion on things. Like Phil knows the true opinion of anybody. He did the exact same thing. And he got called out for it. But he didn't, but I don't think Ubisoft said anything about anything. I know people reached out to them, but I don't think they said anything about anything. Not to my recollection at the very least, which doesn't mean too much, but bear with me. And he wasn't blacklisted off of the bounty board. What happened is he came to the realization that he would never be able to beat the restreamers. So he stopped. He just gave up on it because all he was doing was streaming for scraps, which is something that he's doing already anyway. So what was the point? That's why. Because if he had a letter, right, or if he had an email, or if he had whatever stating, hey, you've been blacklisted from this thing, he would have told you. He would have read it. He never did any of those things. He just said, oh, I must be blacklisted. But there was all kinds of games up there that he could have still played on the bounty board. He chose not to. Matter of fact, it's ironic in a lot of ways. Around the time he ended up giving up on the bounty board, or right before he gave up, I should say, a much bigger streamer, I can't think of their name at the moment, my apologies, leaked what their bounty board looked like. And they had like 3 or 4 games up there, and you saw 5,000, 7,000, 4,000, 3,000. And Street Fighter 5, just for a matter of conversation, was up there. And it was like $4,000 an hour to play that game. And DSP definitely saw that, because a bunch of people saw it. And I think what DSP realized was, these guys are making real money, and I'm never going to make that. I'm never going to be able to get there and touch any of that. So what's the point? And in classic DSP quitter fashion, he quit. He quit doing the bounty board. He justified in his own head, I'm not getting the opportunities that those guys are because those guys are good sellouts and I'm not. So why bother? And he gave it up. And that's what happened. He wasn't blacklisted from anything. He has no proof of that. He has no evidence. And as far as we know, Twitch never came out and made an announcement about it. So rip to that. Even people in his own audience questioned him on it around that time. And he didn't really have a good explanation. He still don't. So that's what happened. And you would think if they thought you were such a toxic product, such a toxic individual that they felt the need to kick you out of the bounty system or out of the bounty program, why didn't they go ahead and demonetize him on Twitch then? If this big AAA company, or these other companies, I should say, are saying, hey, we don't want any business with him, we don't want to associate with him, you know what I mean? Why wouldn't Twitch have been like, okay, well, maybe we should consider moving him out of the partnership program then? We could still make him an affiliate, but maybe we shouldn't have him partnered if that's the case. Think about that. If that was really a situation. And if any company did come to Twitch and saying, hey, we have issues with this individual, I would assume, unlike Phil, they'd have some proof. They'd have some evidence. They would have a point of conversation where they would be like, hey, this is some of the things that we're seeing, and this is why we don't want to be associated with him. Or we don't want him to be associated with our games. That makes a little bit more sense than what he's saying.
You're telling me I'm bad for every time that I need some help to appeal to my viewers, yet all the opportunities I had to make money outside of that, you shut down through your own harassment. So the ultimate hypocrites there are them. It's not that they have any valid criticism of me at all. They just want me to fail no matter what. They want to shut down my opportunities to be successful outside of making revenue on a stream. But then if I try to make revenue on a stream, they criticize me and say it's begging.
But it is begging. On top of the fact that you were the one that said that streamers rely on crowdfunding. You're the one who made that argument. You're the one who said that. No other detractor. And what you do isn't crowdfunding. It's just out and out begging. Let's call a spade a spade. And then you said you've been presented with different types of opportunities or endorsements, and either you turned them down because you didn't want to be a talking head, right? Or supposedly a detractor fucked it up for you, or a detractor, troll, hater, or critic fucked it up for you, and that right there screwed up your opportunity. Even though within that same snort, you said that it was a behind-the-scenes deal that no one knew about. So how does the detractor, troll, hater, and critic fuck up a behind-the-scenes deal that no one knew about but you and that company? That doesn't make any sense in its own right. On top of that, you being in financial straits is your fault, nobody else's. For whatever reason, you had this very naive and short-minded notion that the money you were making on machinima or on the internet in general was only going to go up and was going to last forever. You didn't save. You didn't plan to save. You kept spending in the expectation that more would just come in. That's nobody's fault but your own. And when it comes to your personal finances, Phil, well, guess what? It's a personal problem. And for whatever reason, you were never able to get that through your head. You wanted to make your money. You wanted to have your glory. You wanted to be your one man band, right? Or your one man army, or whatever the case may be. But then when shit gets fucked up, when stuff turns into a problem, everybody else needs to kind of come in and pick up the pieces. It's always been like that with you. I assume you've lived your entire life like that. And that's why you could never think of a way out of a problem. You're always quick to come up with a new scam, but you can't really think your way out of a problem. That's why you're unable to plan for anything. That's why you're too lazy to go ahead and actually do anything. You expect everybody else to do it for you. Which is the reason, yet again, is the real reason why he doesn't have any endorsements or sponsorships. Because he wants other people to present him with those opportunities. He doesn't want to have to go out and get it. He feels, I'm already streaming. I'm already a content creator. I already have a 10-year, 13-year, whatever the fuck, legacy. I don't need to do anything more than that. That on its own should be strong enough to bring people to me. And that's not how business works. He thinks that's how business works, but it's not. If you want something, you have to go get it. And you have to prove to people that you're willing to work for it. Either work hard for it or work smart for it. And Phil can't do either one of those things.
Both ways. If you think that me sitting here and appealing to my viewership and saying, hey, I need some help is bad, then don't shut down the opportunities that I have outside of it. If I have an opportunity for a sponsorship, don't go harass Hori. Don't go harass a game developer. Don't go harass whatever other company it may be. Let them judge for themselves whether or not they want to have me legitimately as a part of their campaign. All right? But that's the thing, is that they won't do that. They want to harass me in every situation. In any way, any avenue that I have to get ahead or make out.
Now, I want you guys to listen to this. Does this sound like someone who's in control of their own life? He's literally pleading with people who have an opinion of him to stop having an opinion of him so he can do what he wants. But funny enough, when he was doing that to his peers, his fellow YouTubers and his fellow streamers, they weren't affected by it. But he was clearly doing it to have some type of effect. But it didn't work for him. But it's working for other people against him. And he's literally sitting here pleading with people to stop. He's almost begging for people to leave him alone. But I thought you were Mr. Free Speech. I thought you were the honest person. I thought you were the honest gamer. And you're not going to sugarcoat shit for anybody. So why should anybody else? And why are you in such a vulnerable position where a handful of people can make a video and it can stifle you with a sponsorship? Why is that? And why is it that the very thing that they're making the argument about in those videos are based on your word? The word that they're going over within that video, which hurts you so much. You didn't realize that maybe you hurt yourself more than anybody else? If you say something stupid on a stream and somebody clips that shit and puts it wherever and that shit circulates, whose fault is it? The person who said it or the person who clipped it? If you lack self-control, right? If you don't have any restraint, and if you're not going to exhibit any common sense, you're setting yourself up to be taken advantage of. And that's what happened. So as he takes advantage of all these wheelchair symbols and all these other man babies and whatever the case may be, other people essentially take advantage of him. And he's mad because that gets exploited. But he put himself in the position to be exploited. So yet again, ladies and gentlemen, whose fault is that? And if a company sees that, it's still up to them whether they think that you're a viable candidate or not. And outside feedback is important because every person who has an eye on you or on that situation is a potential client. They can always get another person to endorse the product. It gets harder and harder to get people to come back to that product if it's associated with a terrible person. That's where the issue comes into play. And he should know that. Especially in a social media heavy environment. He should know that. If not, then what the fuck is he doing here? It's not like the ire against him is unfair. Because it's not. He asked for this. In some ways, he demanded it. It's his fault he couldn't profit from it. He didn't have to live his life like this. He chose to. Well, this is a package deal. And you take everything that comes with it, good or bad. Like marriage, Phil. If your marriage wasn't such a sham, you would know that.
Have success, they want to shut it down, but then they blame me when I have to seek other ways to make ends meet. I would not be in the situations I'm in right now if it weren't for their constant online harassment. Seriously, do you really feel that I would have lost my Twitch sponsorship if I didn't have that huge group of trolls harassing me constantly? Really? If I was just a normal guy with a normal following on Twitch, do you really think I would have lost the partnership? Really?
Well, that's ironic in a lot of ways because one, you're admitting that you're not a normal person. Two, you're admitting that your audience isn't normal, which, trust me, they're not. So that's the first thing. So I applaud you in coming to the understanding and the realization that you're the furthest thing from being normal, as well as many of the people in your fan base. That's the first thing. Secondly, just because a group of people call you out on the lies that you chose to make doesn't make them bad people, nor does it make the situation harsh against you. That's your fault. You put yourself there. 3, begging is not a viable option. Begging isn't a way of trying to turn your situation around. You're not doing anything different. All you're doing is sitting on your fucking chair or your love seat or wherever the fuck. You're playing your games, squinting most of the time because you can't fucking see, right? Your inability to learn games or your unwillingness to learn the games is an even bigger deficit. You're not entertaining. You're not funny. You're not insightful. That's all on you. In a lot of ways, it does make you very much an easy target. Some people have even claimed that you're low-hanging fruit. Yet, everybody watches it. So you must not be that low-hanging. Semantics. But the problem at the end of the day is always going to be you. And you know that. Your own fan base has told you that. They've told you that for years. But you've never been man enough to accept your own falters. Or your own faults, I should say. And it always had to be somebody else. And any sponsorship or any sponsorship deal is going to look at that too. When they look at you, they don't see one stream and that's it. They actually take the time to do research on you. They have to. Because they need to understand who they're getting in bed with. And your history is pretty vast. And it carries a lot of fucking weight. Dead weight, but weight nonetheless. And a lot of that's your fault. A lot of the fucking just absolutely obnoxious, rude, racist, and as well as other things that you have said is on you. That has nothing to do with a troll or a hater or anything. You said that. You chose to say that. And say it with the type of conviction that you believe people were going to fall in place with it. And people didn't. That falls on you, nobody else. You are, yet again, you always have been, yet again, and you always be, yet again, your biggest deficit. That'll never change. You've been begging for money for people on YouTube since the beginning. The earliest clip I saw of you basically soliciting tips was 2009. But people have said, and credible people have said, that there are early examples of you doing that in 2008. You yourself have admitted to soliciting donations from people to play games. Long before ad revenue became a thing. So this is par for the course. This is just what you do and what you've always done. And you never stopped. Even when ad revenue was a thing, ladies and gentlemen, he never stopped. I'm sure that people were still sending him money through PayPal. And guess what? He accepted it. Because why wouldn't he? Which in a lot of ways exacerbates or justifies why his spending is the way it is. Because he always thought people would always send him money because people care about him so much and care about his content and it has so much value. The normal person would curve their spending and try to save some of it. Not Darkside Phil. His history proves that. His inability to do anything right. to do anything properly. And then because he won't take feedback, we all know this, because he won't take feedback, it makes it even worse. He isolated himself away from the world. The world never shut him out. He chose to shut the world out. And that's why he's at where he's at now. That's why he'll be where he'll be.
Because it's these shitheads who harass me constantly that put me into these situations. Right? If I had a bunch of sponsorships right now from a drink company because I drink their drink on stream all the time, maybe some clothing company because I wear their shirts on stream, controllers and stuff that I use on my headphones, right? All these are sponsorship opportunities everyone else gets. I can't get them. So I can't make a living doing this through sponsorships. So then I appeal to my viewers, oh, that's begging, that's bad. No,
it is begging.
Your
but here's the thing. I want you to think about everything that he said about endorsing, right? Because if you look at if you look at gamers who endorse shit, right? It's bigger than just, peripherals and paraphernalia. Like, a lot of them have moved from, when it comes to sponsorships, have moved on even past that. And they've gotten into much bigger and much more lucrative deals. We're talking about doing deals with AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, doing fucking deals with like HBO and stuff. Like, it's really expanded for people in the gaming sphere. He's talking about shit that they were doing back in like 2010, 2011, 2012. That's where his head's at. And think about the peripherals that he's talking about. The things that he feels that he needs that further justifies and solidifies him as a gamer. He's not thinking like a businessman. He's thinking like a kid. He's thinking like a child. I want new shiny stuff. I want shirts to wear or apparel to wear to make people think I am a gamer. I want the new controllers and everything so people can see how cool I am and how good I am at games because I have this new controller. I want the new energy water and shit, right? To show that I'm a gamer, to show that, I really live this lifestyle and I'm really about this. I want the headsets. I want all these things that make me something. It sounds like what Summit 1G has. It sounds like what Dr. Disrespect has. It sounds like what Tim the Tatman has. It sounds like what Dr. Loophole has. Even though all of those men have expanded even past that. It sounds like that. It sounds like, yet again, Darkside Phil is like, 6 or 7 years too late, and he's chasing old shit. It sounds to me like maybe 2012 DSP should have stopped criticizing people on how they get their money and actually looked at the landscape for what it was, for what it is, and for what it was going to be. That's what it kind of sounds like. What that sounds like, ladies and gentlemen, is a whole lot of self-loathing and a whole lot of regret. That's exactly what that sounds like. Imagine that.
Fucking fall. You idiots who criticize me are the same ones who do the fucked up illegal trolling actions that make me have to do that. It's your fault. You are the ultimate hypocrites. You're the scumbags. You're the losers. You're the ones who create the situation that then you complain about after. It's you. So grow the fuck up. Same reason why people say to me, Phil, why won't your wife be on your streams? Well, when she tried to be on my streams in 2018 when she moved in with me, everyone harassed her. Every time she showed up, things about her looks, things about her past that have nothing to do with her being on my stream, constant online harassment, to the point where after being on my stream 3 times, she never wanted to be on my streams ever again. Who are the people who are oh my god, I can't believe she won't be on the stream? Them! The same fucking people who mass harassed her are the people who want her on the streams back. It's like, you can't have it both ways.
First off and foremost, detractors as well as people in your own fan base told you not to put that girl out there. That's the first thing. After your introduction video, which is, looking back at it, it's even more hilarious, and it falls back into the meme of classic hostage video. That shit's hilarious. You ain't had 2 in real life streams or IRL streams with her, and then you had the Halloween stream. Those are the 3 streams he's talking about. First off, let's talk about those in real life streams, yeah? Or those IRL streams. He wanted that to be a bi-weekly or a monthly situation. He was trying really hard to monetize her on that shit. He tried really hard to do it. Didn't work. The fan base was like, hey, We're glad that you're happy. Maybe you don't need to be pushing her out there like that, and give her some breathing room. Let her go back to making content again, because everybody knew who she was at that time. But he gave all the excuses in the world on why she couldn't do her own individual content, but he could come up with all of the benefits if she was on his content. First point. Second point, let's talk about Halloween, or October 31st of 2019? No, that was 2018. Yeah, because she got there in February. Yeah, she showed up on the Halloween stream of 2018. My apologies. You know, the classic "It's Tevin's fault" stream. He was the one who had that. Well, let's paint the scenario. They were both going to dress up, and they were going to come up on stream. They were going to have a good time for a couple of games, and then she was going to leave because she had prior arrangements. Okay, that was a story that was told to us. What ends up happening is they both end up dressing up. They come on stream, and she's there for about 3 hours, roughly 2 games. It could have been 3, but I'm pretty sure it was 2 games. She sat there and did nothing for 2 fucking games. He wouldn't let her play the game. She didn't do any commentary, and he wouldn't let her sit in front of the laptop and interact with the chat. She literally sat there like a trophy piece for 3 very uncomfortable hours. The most action you saw out of Catherine that whole day was her trying to look over Phil to see what the chat was saying, because he wasn't letting her play, and she didn't add any commentary to anything because she's not doing anything. That's why that shit was a failure. And then when she's like, you know what, hey, I had enough, I'm going to leave because essentially my time was being wasted. And she's like, I don't know if I really want to come back and do any more of your content. He said in his own snorts, hey, you know, hey, wait. Let's not get too hasty now. Don't completely drop this. I kind of need you. And she's like, no, I don't see a need to do this. Now he says, oh, it's because of all the trolling and everything that she had to go through. I think in actuality, she came to the point that, how am I going to sit there and contribute to your content when I can't even make my own? I think that's kind of one, or that may have been one of the reasons, certainly. But this idiot right here sat there and blamed another dude, right? That it was his fault, and and he was the one who caused all of this, and he was the one that caused the whole event to fail. While he drinks soda or water or whatever through a fucking straw out of a can or out of a bottle, one of the two. It was lame. I guess when he had the mustache on, it made sense. But after the mustache fell off, then he still was doing it, which still made no sense. But that's just a nitpick on my part. That's what it came down to. And then let's not even forget that he tried to. It was either a sub goal. I think it was a sub goal where he was trying to get a cooking show to be done with him and Catherine, and he would film it. If they hit this, it was either a sub goal or a tips goal. I can't remember. It might have been a sub goal. And they didn't hit it because they weren't interested in seeing her. Like, she's not some shiny new toy that you can just exploit for everybody. She's a person. And for whatever reason, she gave up all the content she was making the year prior to be with you. So now she's not safe doing her own content, but she's safe doing content with you. But now you're sitting here saying that it's because of the detractors, trolls, haters, and critics, she was driven off. She was discouraged from doing it. She didn't feel safe. So how safe was she really, if you think about it? She was better off doing her own content and just dealing with the fallout. Dealing with whatever the consequences are. You exploited her, and it didn't work. Just like you did with the first one. Like what you did with Leanna, or Panda. Or Panda Lee, I should say. Same concept. He tried to do almost the exact same thing. Excuse me. Because the cooking with the king, or the cooking with the cooking show they were going to do, would have been no different than the meal vlogs that him and Panda did. Catherine would have done all the cooking, he would have vlogged it, and then it would have cut away, and it would have showed them eating it a little bit, and that would have been it. It would have been the exact same thing. So all he did was recycle ideas, essentially, that he used to do with Panda, and he kind of gave it a fresh coat of paint, lazily, of course, and then try to repackage it. Defiant sniff. That's all it was. And it failed. because it was supposed to fail. You didn't put any effort into it. You didn't think it out. And if she was doing her own content, at least making videos or whatever, right? Because she is a gamer, right? Right. Then maybe people would have gotten a better grasp of her personality. Maybe they would have been willing to, kind of push that narrative a little bit more, since they were able to interact with her on a different plane, if you will, or within a different medium that's separate from yours. But he couldn't do that. He needed control of all of it. And in typical Dark Side Phil fashion, when he has control of everything, he fucks everything up. And then, yet again, in typical Dark Side Phil fashion, blame it on everybody else because it failed. Womp womp.
You're the shitheads who did it, but then you don't want to live with the repercussions of your actions. It's like you want to talk about being the ultimate dumb fuck hypocrites. I know. That's who these people are. Okay? You know, and there's nothing I can do to stop them from doing the heinous actions they do. I wish there was a way, but I can't stop that. That social media is a free and open medium, right? I can't stop them from harassing a sponsor. So that's why I am where I am.
Made it through another day. Can't believe this is happening.
But I'm supposed to be responsible for everything, right? I'll take responsibility for the things I fucked up over the years. I know I've said and done things that were stupid. I know I've made bad decisions, especially financial decisions. I'm not that dumb. I will always take responsibility for the bad stuff I do. But there's no fucking way anyone with a rational mind can look at what I've been through in the last 5-6 years and say that's all on Phil. You're out of your mind. Every opportunity I have to flip stuff and make stuff better, those people ruin it. And there's nothing I can do about it because they're online, they're anonymous, and there's no repercussions for breaking the law online for the kind of stuff that they do. It's terrible, you know.
And what about those who aren't anonymous, who publicly put their face or names out there and still criticize you? Idiot. You forget about that? So when Quartering's laughing at you on Twitter and he has like 2,000 or 3,000 people laughing at you, then what? When Rich is out there talking shit about you and he can get a few hundred people to laugh at you, or he can talk about you on his streams and laugh at you, what about that? The very people, quote unquote, that have enough influence to that could really be a deficit to fill is bigger than the people who do this on a regular basis. And he knows that, but he don't want to say that because he's scared. And he wants those people to play Captain Save-A-Ho, which is even more ironic because, not to say that Rich can save himself, let alone save him, but Rich has tried to get him on that fucking podcast to say his half of the story, and Phil won't do it. And let me be the first person to say, Phil's right probably not to do it. It would be interesting if he did, but it's probably good that he didn't, because Rich knows a lot about him. Like, surprisingly enough, Rich from Review Tech USA's knowledge of Darkside Phil is pretty vast. It's pretty up there. I don't think it's as extent as a Eddie B, like 43, or a Secret Limited, or even an Agent Proper of the DIA. But it is pretty extensive. He knows a lot about Phil. And he knows the type of questions that would get a response. I think Quartering does too. I just think Quartering didn't want to do it. I think he just wanted to be the guy to get an interview with him for whatever that was worth. So that's what that comes down to. But yet again, this comes back to his short-term thinking. If he had done right by his money, and if he was smart with his decisions, he wouldn't be in the fucked up spot now where he would need to rely on sponsorships or any of those things. This is all a self-fulfilling prophecy. You did this all to yourself. You can sit there and try to blame people all you want for not giving you enough money to get out of that situation, but let's be honest, there'll never be enough money to get you out of the situation. You're drowning. You're always going to drown. You can keep fighting if you like, but you're not exactly putting yourself in position to put yourself in a better position. You're just sitting there treading water, hoping someone else will sacrifice themselves to come get you. And nobody needs to do that. There's no point in doing it. Because after this situation, ladies and gentlemen, there'll be another situation. And there'll be a situation after that. And there'll be a situation after that. How many times are you willing to keep putting yourself into a bad situation to get somebody out who clearly doesn't know what he's doing? After a while, you have to cut your losses. So if any company wants to get in bed and sponsor this face right here, then they'll do it. But I'm sure that the expectations of him being able to do anything is going to be low. Look at him. Look at him. It's not just the fact that he's 40. He looks like he's 60. He looks terrible. And he just doesn't have anything to offer. Jesus Christ, gamer grandma had way more entertainment value than him. But she actually cared. She cared about the people who watched her. She cared about the game she was playing. If not, she wouldn't do it. He don't have no choice. He does this because he's stuck doing it. And that's why he's mad. But yet again, that's his fault. He could have done this and had a job or had a career. It's called time management. He wasn't willing to do that. He wanted the easy way out. And this is everything that came with it. He got a couple of good years out of it. Let's say a few. He got a few good years out of it. Instead of saving that money up, right? And putting himself in a position to, okay, let me cut this to part-time. Let me go ahead and pursue this. And I can still do this on the side, right? And I can still build my fan base slowly. He chose to go all in. And he flopped. And that's the reality. And he could sit there and try to argue semantics about it all day. But that's what happened. It's what it was always going to happen. He's not special. He's not unique. Those who were successful in this, whatever you in the online entertainment gaming sphere, or whatever the case may be, were those who not only worked hard, but they worked smart. And they exercised all the resources that were around them. They reached out to people who were bigger content creators and smaller ones. Because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's trying to get to the same place. It's easier to do it together than by yourself. He's the one who ran around with that whole one-man army bullshit. Look at where it got him. Even though he was never a one-man army. He always had people who were looking out for him, who were watching over him, that was basically contributing to him. Now he don't have that no more. And that's what that looks like. Go back and look at what he looks like when he has friends. Go back and look at him when he was in Connecticut and he was in his safe space. When he had his little underage girlfriend, when he had his mom and dad, when he had his friends, his real life friends. Oh, sorry, well, real life friend, meaning John. The other guys weren't friends, they were just associates. And he had a few online cocksuckers. Look at him what he looked like then. Look at how he moved then, and look at him now. That's nobody's fault but his own.
So that's why I have to appeal to you guys and say, hey, please, let's get the membership goal going for this month. Please, can you tip me today? You know, yeah, because that's how I make my whole living. Because I'm not afforded the opportunities every other content creator gets because of the online harassment. They create the situation, then they complain about the result. You created that, not me. I would love right now to be using a sponsored controller that I enjoy, drinking a sponsored drink that I really like, and doing all this stuff. I can't do it because of you, the shitheads. That's why. The scumbags who are out there and have no lives, you know. But it's just ridiculous, you know. It's absolutely ridiculous that, oh, it's all on Phil. Sure it is, right? Sure. It's totally my fault, right? I've done everything wrong completely. I've never done a thing right. If that were the case, then I would have 0 viewers and 0 followers. Seriously, I would have no one who supports me. I would have absolutely no support at all on any of my streams if it really were the case. The problem is these people don't want to admit that they've been wrong for years. They're the ones who create the situation. Because if they look in the mirror and have to see for themselves how bad they are as people, they could never live with it. They'd have.
If they were wrong for years, then why did so many people abandon you? If they were wrong for years, why did so many people from your fan base end up jumping to the other side, saying, "Yes, I saw a lot of that for a number of years, and I just didn't want to face it." If the other side was wrong for all these years, why were they able to actually build off? Let's be honest, build off of you and actually build stuff and actually become something while you're just here. Why is it that if those people were wrong, people not only make probably more than what you're making in ad revenue, but even as a hobby, have a much larger voice, have a much bigger following? Because let's be honest, his numbers on YouTube and Twitch are inflated and fraudulent, so they don't mean shit anyway. They have more reach and they have more of a voice in your very field than even you do, and you've been here longer. How does that happen? Why is it that you're a laughingstock to all of these other people who aren't detractors, who just occasionally watch detractor content, and they see you for what you are? If everybody's wrong about you, why are you at where you're at? If everybody's wrong about you, why do you attract losers who are like you to your content? The very people who watch you, who say you're great, Phil, you're the best, and all this, and their lives are just as fucked up. Or they're fucking have addictions that they can't get over. Or they don't even recognize yet. Why is it that if these people are all wrong about you, why are you so easily manipulated? Why is it that people were able to string you along for 2 fucking weeks to get a damn statue? Had you up at all times of the fucking early morning and shit, taking pictures and shit. How did you get strung along like that if everybody else is wrong? See, he can't answer those questions. Great screenshot, though. But he can't answer those questions. And he knows that. Failure is failure, ladies and gentlemen. Failure is failure.
Of a epiphany of, oh my god, I'm a scumbag. I've been wasting all this time in my life, and they don't want to see the harsh reality of how bad they are, how miserable people they are. So instead, they have to completely make shit up and circle jerk each other on the internet to make themselves feel good about themselves. It's terrible.
Well, if you think about it that way, it is kind of terrible, because how is a bunch of people who treat this shit like a hobby, who treat you as a hobby, right? Who are supposedly these losers and these basement dwellers and all this case may be, how are they better off than you are? Even if they don't have Darkside Phil's money, they didn't have to do what Darkside Phil had to do to get it. They don't have to live with the repercussions of this. When you do it, when you know Phil is one of those people who does a Google search on himself, it's not a good look. He's someone who looks at YouTube as essentially his mother's tit and was hoping to live off of it forever. But when he types all the variations of his name, his content doesn't come up first. He'll be lucky if that shit comes up even on the first page. He never built anything. He threw a bunch of shit online, a bunch of kids liked it, and he thought he could build something off of it. And he didn't, because he didn't build anything. He expected other people to. If you like Darkside Phil, if you like his content, please support. Does that sound familiar? It should, because he's been saying that for over a decade. And look at what it got him. He felt so entitled that people should come through and help him financially, morally, emotionally, or just spreading around his content that he forgot to do for self. He was okay with indulging and reaping all of the rewards that came from all that, but he really can't do anything for self. And now look at him. And that's nobody's fault but his own.
All right, Always Hot Tea, you're permanently banned because you're an asshole. Go fuck yourself. I'm not even going to say what he said because he's such an idiot. I'm just not going to put up with their bullshit anymore, really. Standing plays, if it feels like you're being scolded, it's because you feel guilty. Seriously. I'm not scolding anyone who's a regular viewer, who's a positive supporter. I'm scolding shitheads who harass me online regularly. That's who I'm scolding. Like, literally, none of the people who would come to a regular playthrough, who would be a part of the positive conversation, who would support a stream, or anyone who I'm addressing right now. My long-standing viewers know I'm not talking to them because they've been along for the ride. They've seen the harassment grow and grow and grow over the years. They're not dumb. Only dumbasses would actually think that I'm talking to them because they're the ones who do that shit. You see? If you've participated in the...
Wait, so you mean those same long-term supporters who were on YouTube when you were on Twitch and you were collecting all that money on Twitch and you were doing so well, but you needed the guys on YouTube to step the fuck up? You guys are taking my content for granted? You're taking for granted the idea or the premise that I keep uploading stuff over here to this archive? You mean those people, right? even though you were actually uploading over here because you were collecting ad revenue. But you wanted those people to support too. You were already collecting thousands of dollars on Twitch, but you wanted that little bit more. So you went ahead and kept uploading over here to get ad revenue. Then you wanted even more on top of that, hey, if you're watching my content over here, come to my streams. If you can't watch my streams because your internet's not good or you don't have time or whatever, who cares? At least come by and give me a tip or contribute to my Patreon. This is what he said to these people. His longtime positive supporters. That's what he said to these people. And he wonders why he can't grow on YouTube anymore. That's why he's sitting here low-key begging, hoping that he can get 200,000 subs on fucking YouTube. The same YouTube channel, by the way, that's an archive. Until he was forced to come back and actually use it. But true and honest fans, though, right? They understand. You know? He didn't hit them because he wanted to hit them. He's just frustrated. He had a bad day at work. He hit the gen a little too hard. He didn't mean it. Right? Right? Right.
Online harassment? Yes, I'm addressing you. You're a scumbag. You need to wake the fuck up. That's why I am where I am right now. Right now, I'm on a live stream. I got $21 in tips out of a goal of 150 that I literally need to make ends meet. How do you think that makes me feel? Right? Do I want to sit here and be like, guys, please amp up the support? No. I just want to play the game and enjoy it and have fun. But I'm not allowed to do that because I have to worry about my business because I can't get the support I need because I can't have these outside relationships because of the scumbags. You know?
Now, wait a second. I thought that you were like, didn't he say something about he's supposed to be like a waiter or some shit or like a bartender? And you were supposed to do a good job and then based on your basically job performance and on your service, people can decide whether they want to give you a little bit more? Isn't that how that works? Why am I paying to walk into the bar before I even get a drink? It's not like walking into a club. Let's go ahead and use the bar analogy. Let's use the restaurant analogy. Why am I paying just to walk into the restaurant? I haven't even ordered anything yet. I don't even have a table yet. And he wants to be paid beforehand. That's essentially what he's saying. When you walk onto my stream, there's a fee at the door. Pay that. Now sit down. Okay, to sit down, you got to pay for that too. So pay me. Pay me again. Okay, you want to see the menu? Pay me again. Okay, you read the order? Pay me again. Okay, you ready for your food? Okay. All right, you got your food, right? It's right in front of you. It's nice, hot, and fresh, right? Okay, pay me. Okay, you already finished your food, right? You're all done and everything? The meal was great, right? Okay, good, pay me. Okay, leave a tip, and then pay on your way out. That's essentially what he's doing. That is essentially what he's doing. Every little thing he does, he wants to be compensated for it in some way, shape, or form. The way I did it, or the way I illustrated it, is egregious. But that's what he's thinking. That's clearly what he's thinking. Because that's what his behavior dictates. And it's everybody else's fault. So, let's put this into perspective for a minute. Look up at the top there. He has $21 out of $150 sub goal. It's your fault, guys, that I only have $21 and I don't have my $150. It's the haters and the trolls' fault that I can't get sponsorship money, right, to go on top of that. It's also the haters and trolls' fault that I'm not getting the big ad revenue money that the other guys are getting. And it's also the haters and trolls' fault that I'm no longer on Twitch. Even though when he was on Twitch, he said he was barely making ends meet. Now Twitch is gone and he's on YouTube. Now he's in dire straits. So which one is it? And keep in mind, when he was on Twitch and he got kicked off, well, he got kicked out of the partnership program. He said he lost thousands upon thousands of dollars. So then, was he lying when he was on Twitch saying that he could barely make ends meet? He had all those overdrafts that he couldn't pay. He didn't have money for groceries? Or is he lying now? Something to think about.
That sucks shit. This really feels terrible. I don't like being put into this position. I don't want to bring up every half an hour, oh, by the way, let's hit that tip skull. Oh, by the way, let's get the members going. No, I don't want to do that at all. I have to do that because of the shitheads. There we go. So this is good because this gives me the opportunity to ban a bunch of shitheads. It's perfect. And yes, you're absolutely right. I am allowed to vent on my own stream. That's the fucking point. The whole point of having an interactive, personable stream is that I get to do this. Rather than, I could go back to my old style.
But you're not personable, though. Because if that was the case, your chat would be open to everybody. Not to 24-hour subs. If you were a personable person, it would be open to everybody. Anybody and everybody can have their opinion, and they shouldn't get shat on for it. Now, obviously, if they're being absolutely egregious, do what you got to do. But if people just have an opposing opinion of you or of what you're saying, if not, you should be able to just take that in. Let bygones be bygones, essentially. You can't do that. You want hive mind. You want group speech. Everybody has to be in line with the exact same cause. That's boring, first off. And that stifles growth. Because if everybody thinks the exact same way, how far is everybody going to go? If, for all intents and purposes, not every detractor looks at DSP the exact same way. And you can talk to like 4 different detractors and they're going to have their gripes with him, or they're just going to have their feelings about him in a different way than everybody else. Yet again, we know what it's like to have a hive mind over here too. We saw what that did. And that came, well, and essentially some of it came from people just wanting to do things on their own, wanting to have their own opinion. When you try to get everybody lined up to think and do the exact same thing, you have problems. He is a great example of that. He's an excellent example of that. And yet he still hasn't learned.
Don't interact with you guys at all. I ignore everything you're saying, and I just pretend like I'm playing the game offline. And I did that for many, many years. People got tired of it. You know, people were outright just 100% tired of that, and they wanted to see me become an interactive streamer, which is when I changed to do stuff like I'm doing right now. You can't have it both ways. You can't. You can't have, oh, I wish you would just play the game. Well, I already did that for many years. People complained. They were tired of it. They want interactive fill. Now you get interactive fill, but some people don't want interactive fill because then when I get a discussion like this, all of a sudden they realize what shitheads they are. And they're, oh, shit. I just
wait a second. So how is it that other content creators can stream like 4, 5, 6 hours a day and still have edited content for their YouTube channels, right? But Phil can't. Because, yet again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been said before, he doesn't have to stream as long as he does. If nothing else, it's a deficit to him. Certainly. It's a deficit. So, how is it that everybody else can do it? How is it that everybody else can make their way? How can everybody else find their way, right? To make their way. But Darkside Phil can't. You see what it means to be a fucking special snowflake? To be the one in the million? To be the exception to the rules? You see where that gets you? I hope so.
Phil nonstop, and I harassed his sponsors, and I harassed his wife. Oh man, I really am a scumbag, but I don't want to hear that, so now let's say it's Phil's fault. Okay, whatever you say. Do I think that the trolls will ever get tired of it? Some people do. Some people over time, they wise up. They grow up and they basically become smarter and more mature, and they realize all that wasted time is not worth it at all. They realize that, okay? But I can't make everyone...
Well, who are you talking about exactly? LSB, for example, who's the... Well, first of all, let's talk about your big 3 when it comes to restreamers, yeah? Your big 3, well, it used to be, but the big 3 is still, I think most people still will agree with this. It's Tevin, it's LSB, and then it's Dark Dave Mirrors. Now, granted, Tevin has moved over to Twitch. We'll touch on that subject in just a second. LSB has gotten bored of Phil, so he went on to do his VTubing thing, which is being very fruitful. If you guys are following him, you guys should if you're not. And Dark Dave Mirrors is still in the mix. So Dark Dave Mirrors is still in the big 3. I would argue that Raw DSP is just as vital as the other three, because that's where a lot of people get their clips from for the chat. Well, for the chat and just essentially just the clarity of it all. If you don't want to fucking give Phil the view by grabbing whatever you need to grab, you go over there. On top of the fact that the unrecorded segments come from Raw DSP or Dark Dave Mirrors anyway. So that right there is highly useful. So that bounces up, and then it's Ann Lead after that. And then if you want to go ahead and continue further, then your next person is Agent Proper, clearly. And then, I mean, shit, you got a couple people in the runnings. You got, well, for restreamers, then it's James the Lesser. And I think that's it when it comes to restreamers. I mean, there's actually a few other people. They're smaller guys, but they're making their way. But outside of that, those are your big restreamers, if you will. This whole restreaming thing has been a thing for a while, right? Or clone streams, as Tevin used to call them. But the real reason why restreaming picked up the way it did was because of Phil. And that was because Phil had Tevin and those other two fellas kicked off of Twitch for no good fucking reason. Phil did that to himself. And it's ironic that the very people he kicked off, at least one of them, because I know the other two were doing like other shit and whatever, and best of luck to them on both of that. But as it pertains to Tevin, he ends up going back and getting back into he ends up going back to Twitch, getting his account back, I should say. And he gets back into the partnership, and he gets a partnership manager. So everything Phil lost trying to protect what he used to have was given to Tevin. Isn't that fucking hilarious? He had these guys kicked off. His real reasoning doesn't really compute, but let's go ahead and let's wing it a little bit. His reason for getting these guys kicked off is because they're detractors and they need to be fucking kicked off Twitch. Twitch doesn't deal with that trash. You know what I'm saying? They run a clean shift over there. So he got all these guys deplatformed, right? And these guys did what they did to make their way, doing what they were doing as a hobby. Tevin sits there, comes to YouTube, and is so pissed off and driven by the fact that he got fucked over for essentially no reason, just like the other guys did. He decides to be like, all right, fuck it. If that's what you want, then that's what you're going to get. And ends up restreaming Phil, completely killing Phil's numbers. Not that Phil's numbers were any good, really, either which way. But Tevin was blowing him out daily. Daily. Tevin used to do streams, he still kind of does, but he used to do streams at like 3 o'clock in the morning and still catch more viewers than Phil had all day. In 2 days. In 3 days in some situations. And as all that went on, Tevin wasn't just streaming just to stream. He was slowly but surely building his craft. He was crafting the mold of what he wanted. You get a little bit of equipment here every little once in a while. You start changing your layouts a little bit. You start changing your sound a little bit. You do everything you have, and he was essentially putting it all together over time. And then when the time came, Phil gets departnered. Tevin gets his account back, and then not long after that, he gets partnered. And he's been doing well ever since. That's karma. And yet again, and even more importantly, right? This is why DSP is his greatest detractor. Phil did that. Phil tried to go ahead and squash all three of those guys. And it came back to haunt him in the worst possible way. He went ahead and exasperated the narrative of restreaming and made it that shit really gets under his skin, right? Which caused more people to do it. And then proved, I should say, that if you put in the hard work and you keep your eye on the prize, it's going to reward you later. And Tevin's the shining example of that. And Phil did that. Phil did all of that. Now, don't get me wrong, Tevin was going to make it there sooner than later anyway. But if Tevin needed a fire under his ass, Phil was more than willing to provide the bacon grease. And look at where it got him. It's funny how quickly Twitch was willing to cut bacon off of Phil's back and then cut the fat altogether to take someone in who really gives a shit about gaming, who gives a shit about streams, who people want to see and have a good time with. It's really amazing how that happened. It's really amazing how that happened. And then watching Phil cope, watching Phil cope on YouTube, you know what I'm saying, losing Twitch, watching one of his greatest enemies over there on Twitch doing well, and him in the slumps, doing worse here than he was doing over there, has been amazing. It's everything that I thought it would be. And some. It was certainly more than what I thought it was going to be honest. I knew when he came back to fucking the Coliseum to Gouty Rome, it was going to be bad. I didn't expect it to be this bad. I thought it was going to be bad, though. Like, he was going to die here. You know, career-wise, if you will. His persona, if you will, was going to die here. I knew that was going to happen. I just didn't think he would deteriorate like this. This has been amazing. This has been amazing. And when he was in a position of power and he thought he was in control and he had everything, he was still slipping back then. He was still faltering. He was still barely hitting tips goals. He was still banning people left and right. And now look at him. The audience, the money's lower, more or less. The audience has dwindled down to damn near nothing. Damn near, right? There's enemies everywhere over here. He can't get a foot in on YouTube in general because he doesn't understand how the system works anymore, right? Because he's too lazy and too stupid to understand how that plays out. It's been amazing watching him fall apart. So when he talks about his 10 years or his 13 years as a content creator, he has nothing to show for it. He can't even tell you how to be a better content creator because he don't know how. He don't know how. He was so reliant on Twitch and on his managed partnership to save him and protect him that he forgot what it was like to actually work, so to speak. So now he can't even do that. And that's why you got segments like this that exist. That shit's amazing. Absolutely fucking amazing.
You know what I'm saying? I can't. Snow Carl, you're absolutely wrong. I don't know why you're saying that. You're saying the tips link doesn't work? Yes, it does. I just clicked on it and it works. So what are you talking about? It literally just worked. I just clicked on it.
Made it through another day. Wish this was over.
Yeah, some people are saying it works. So I don't know what you're talking about. I just clicked on the link and it worked fine. It loaded for me perfectly.
The fight took it out of me. Keep this up much longer.
Well, let me stop recording. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's working for me. The link works for me.
I'll get them back. Let's not talk about it.
The link works for me and the Stream Elements page loads for me fine. Yeah, I don't know. Chicken Man says it works fine for him. Alright, as long as it works. As long as it's working, again, you know.
We're so desperate, right? And we're such in a negative headspace, if you will, that we stopped our recording after all the ranting and all the bullshit he had already said prior to that to go ahead and check and see if people can still tip you. You felt that wasn't worthy for a video, but the rest of his bullshit is? Is this supposed to lead into his unrecorded begging segment? Was that the purpose of doing this? But I thought he was so successful, right? I thought people were so jealous of him. This is what people are jealous of? Is this the extent of it? is this the fruit of a 13-year legacy online? And let's not forget that 4th place finish at Evo 2005. the bane of the FGC, if you will, the boogeyman that nobody wants to talk about. Is that what this is right here? That's what the situation is, right? This is what people feel is worth protecting, right? Holy shit. Wow. That's something special.
I gotta worry about this shit. I do. I haven't had a tip in 47 minutes. So when Snow Carl says, "Oh, the tips isn't working," I gotta believe him. I gotta take the benefit of the doubt, even if he's wrong, which he is apparently.
And then we were counting the minutes down from our last tip. I'm sorry. This is what success is? We're literally counting down the minutes since our last tip. He should have that up there on the leaderboard up there. How many minutes has it been since the last tip? He should do that. That would be funny. Matter of fact, don't have it at the top. Have it at the bottom. Have it at the bottom. That would be great. That would be amazing. But this is success, though. This is success. That's incredible.
Okay. Shout out to Blog Comments. He says, "Why do trolls do that to you? Ever get their point of view?" The thing is, these people, it's either one of two things. It's either they get a sick sense of satisfaction knowing that they can concretely hurt someone on the internet and get away with it. That's one. Okay. It's fucked up, but some people think that way. They think, hey, I can hurt someone and actually get away with it and actually see the result of my hurting someone, but there's no repercussions for it. And they actually get sick pleasure out of that. Or they've literally become like crazy conspiracy theorist cultists, where they whip themselves into such a fervor watching detractor videos, watching restreams, listening to conspiracy theories on kiwi farms and shit, that they just believe everything. They believe everything they're told that's ever been said negative about me. So they're on some kind of crazy crusade where they actually feel like they're doing good by concretely hurting me. That's how crazy they are.
Now, keep in mind, this idiot said his restreams, right? You know, because supposedly the detractor content is taken all out of context, right? To go ahead and paint him in a bad light. That's the narrative that he's presented over the years, even though he's retconned that a couple times. But he says the restreams, though, people watch the restreams and they take what they see there as him being a bad person. Even though the restreams are just a filter, right, for the original content. There's some extra shit on screen, there's someone giving some commentary over it, and that's it. But it's still his content. He doesn't even realize that. He don't even see that. That's the reason why Tevin used to call them clone streams. It's still Phil's stream. It's still Phil being shitty at games. It's still Phil being shitty to other people in his chat and talking shit about other people as streamers or as YouTubers. It's still you. It's just being done through a filter to make it more palatable. And still not man enough or smart enough to admit to that.
So.
And look at that face. Oh, that's great. Look at that face. He looks like a fucking ghoul. He looks like a fucking ghoul. And he feels that he should have opportunities that other streamers have? The man can't even take care of himself. How is anybody even remotely able to imagine him being able to take care of a business? The man can't even take care of his own house. He had to get his father, who was like 20 plus years his senior, to fly across country to do it. He couldn't keep his girlfriend happy or satisfied. That's why she left him. His wife don't even touch him. And they have little to no communication with each other, clearly. But he feels that he's owed success. Look at that. Here. I usually don't I usually don't do this, but I think Hate Army would approve. Look at that. Look at that. Matter of fact, people are gonna hate me on this one. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Look at that. That right there believes he deserves success. He believes because of his time on the internet, he's owed it. There's a debt that should be paid to him, and he expects it to be paid promptly. This right here, this ghoul, this goblin, this whatever you want to call it, believes he's owed something. And this is the same person who had the nerve to, over the years, to shit on other people's appearances, to call them clowns, to call them Muppets. The fuck do you call this? I told you guys once, watching dark side filled content is like watching a man die slow. It's probably one of the saddest and yet truest things I had ever said. At least as it pertains to dark side fill. Jesus Christ.
All right. Are we ready? I want to continue now with the gameplay. I don't really want to talk about this anymore. What I'll say is, if you guys want to help me, please do. I'm trying to hit the membership goal. We haven't had a single membership today, despite the fact that I've, been calling for people to please become members. None happened. So it seems like me lowering the membership goal had zero positive effect. And we're stuck at $21 in tips right now. All right, it would be great if we could get an increase. I need the help right now, and it's not getting any better. So please, if you do support the content, please tip me or become a member. Those are the two ways you can help today. Okay? Fair enough? Okay. Now it's time to continue. Let's stop with the bullshit and focus on the game again. Thank you. Now here you go. Now Snow Carl to the $1.50. He says, remember back in 2017, you never appealed to us for support. It was only after the YouTube ad crash and the false copyright claims when Twitch did you dirty, you had to start doing it. If you remember, until I became an interactive streamer, I never asked for anything. I was never asking.
You're a liar. You're a liar. That's why our eyes are moving around all crazy. This guy was asking, yet again, he was asking for support to help buy games since he started. Like I said, the early example that I could point to you is, that I've seen, I should say, was his Modern Warfare 2. It was his Modern Warfare 2 and his 30,000 sub video that was on I think it's on DSP Gaming. No, it's on, yeah, it's either on DSP Gaming or it's on Dark Side Phil. It's on one of the two, because I've actually done a video over it, or about it. I'll look it up real fast. But that right there is probably one of the earliest examples that I have seen of him thanking people for contributing to him and saying, hey, I really appreciate you guys contributing because that gives me a chance to play all the new games that I can't really afford. So thank you guys very much for doing all of that. And like I said, that's 2009. But yet again, and I've heard this from credible sources, there are examples of him doing that in 2008, which is basically when he started. So this isn't new. And he never really stopped. I'm sure there are plenty of people, air quotes, behind the scenes, or the silent majority, right? Or silent supporters, right? Or behind the scenes supporters, all buzz phrases or words he's used before, who were helping him over the years. Since the beginning, really. So this isn't anything new. And the fact that he would sit there and lie about that's incredible. Because during it was one of the retrospectives, actually. Someone had called him out and he said that, said the same shit. Oh, I never had a way of you giving me money. I never asked you guys for money. Oh, well, you remember on your main page, when the layout for YouTube was really good and it was like this interactive space and all this other bullshit you like talk about? Remember when you had your PayPal link there? I never had a PayPal link there. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you did. It was on the King of Hate HD and it was on DSP Gaming. And I think it was on the Dark Side Phil channel too. It was definitely on two different channels. And then when he got fired from his job, when he did his face reveal, he talked about it. And when he got fired from his job, he talked about it. If that's not the same video. And that's what, 2010? He seemed pretty comfortable, asking for that money, asking for those contributions back then. And even said, hey, you send me a $10, $15, $20 donation, I'll shout you out because I really appreciate it. Anybody remember that? Pepper's Farm remembers that. That's a thing. But like right here, though, he never asked people for money. He never asked for contributions. It wasn't until he started to become a live interactive streamer. Everything I'm saying predates that. I'm talking 2009, 2010. He didn't, quote unquote, become a live interactive streamer until what? Early 2017? Early 2017, first quarter of 2017. He went back to Twitch in late 2016. But I think this whole interactive bullshit he like talking about happened in like early 2017 after Apocalypse. Whatever. Semantics. It's detractor logic. Detractor logic.
So, or tips or anything at all. Those avenues exist. You want to pledge to my Patreon? That avenue exists. Okay? But I never really harped on any of it. It wasn't until the ad revenue crash in 2017 that I became a full-time streamer that really I started saying, hey, I need the constant support on streams. That's how it works. Okay? Because again, I didn't have any sponsorships or anything.
How long have I been doing this? I'll get through this.
Now someone just did another $1.50 tip and said there's something wrong with stream elements. This is the 20th time I tried to do a tip. Well, your tip came through. So there's nothing wrong with stream elements. It came through. All right. So now we're up to $23 of tips. Thank you, guys. Okay, are we ready? All right, let's continue.
All right, found it. It's 30K subs and Modern Warfare 2 update. This was published on... Like I said, I knew I did a video on this. It was published on November 8th of 2009. You can find it on the Dark Side Phil YouTube channel. It's still up and it's still available. Has 40,000 views on it. And it was the same one that popped up in one of his retrospectives that he had to quickly rush away because he didn't want people to hear him contradict himself, which is always hilarious, by the way. Which is always hilarious. And big up to bad moments in DSP and DSP history. All right, here we go.
All right, everyone. Enough of the bullshit. Let's continue on with the main mission and get started here. Enough of the nonsense. Really
You
straight.
couldn't save
Whoa.
your father. What makes you think you can save his father?
FBG Duck says I shouldn't take the bait. FBG Duck, so should I just ignore everyone talking on the stream? Because I'm just trying to talk to the people who are talking to me. You know what I mean? Like, I can't make people talk or talk about different things. I'm just having people who are here and chatting with me. So if this is what people want to talk about, we talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, should I just sit here and be completely silent and ignore everyone? I mean, I have 300 people on the stream. Should I ignore them all? You know? Like, what are you talking about?
Please, leave me. Help me if you can.
Okay. Exactly. I finished talking about the subject, and now we lost 40 viewers. They immediately left. Jimmy Ryan did a super chat. Thank you for the super chat. He says, if I could go back 10 years in time and decide to live a normal life rather than be a YouTuber or a streamer, would I do it? Here's the thing, Jimmy. Sadly, I hate to say it, like, my intention 10 years ago was to keep my office job and keep doing that. You don't seem to... This is what a lot of people don't seem to understand. They really are under this weird impression that Phil chose to do this. I never chose to do this. There was no active, oh, I'm making a decision that this is what I want to do. I wanted to stay at that job at helicopter support forever. That was going to be my career, and I was going to do this as a side thing that wasn't going to be a major focus of my time. But that opportunity was taken away from me by circumstances.
By who? By the trolls? Wait a second. Why would you want to stay at that job forever? Now, this right here is actually a pattern, though. Because if you go back to the Machinima, when he got kicked off from Machinima, he said the exact same thing. I was with Machinima for 7 years or 6 years or whatever, and I wanted to stay there forever. I wanted to be with Machinima forever. Who thinks like that? There are very few people out there who get a job and want to stick with it for the rest of their lives. You know what I'm saying? Especially stick there and be customer support for the rest of their lives. And keep in mind, the only reason why he got the job at the pay that he was getting, I would assume, is because of nepotism. So he was, even back then, he was leaning on his dad, essentially, to help him move up and to be successful there. So I guess that's why he wanted to stay there forever, because he was hoping daddy would watch his ass for the rest of his fucking life. As if his parents aren't doing that already. Jesus Christ, Phil, when are your parents not going to stop being punished for giving birth to your dumb ass? I said your mom should have swallowed. Anyway, here we go. Let's play that part back.
That this is what I want to do. I wanted to stay at that job at helicopter support forever. That was going to be my career, and I was going to do
your career was going to be at helicopter support. You weren't thinking about branching off to any other companies or anything. You were just going to sit there and basically as a customer service rep for the rest of your fucking life. But this is the guy who has so much talent, so much skill, who has so much greatness, and he's being held back by other people, right? That prevents him to doing from what he's doing. He's the type of person who, like, I mean, this might have been the situation with Panda for all we know. He's the type of person to go ahead and basically just stick with the first person. He's willing to basically live the rest of his life with the first person who's willing to deal with him. Not love him, just the first person who's willing to deal with him. Does that sound familiar? It should if you know your DSP lore, because that's kind of what this is shaping up to be. Well, it's what it's shaped up to be, actually. In a lot of ways. Holy shit. He was content with that. Had no ambitions, had no aspirations. He was content with just being a rep for the rest of his life. Wow. Wow.
Thing that wasn't going to be a major focus of my time. But that opportunity was taken away from me by circumstances. A helicopter support forever. That was going to be my career. And our intention 10 years ago was to keep my office job and keep doing that. You don't seem to, this is what a lot of people don't seem to understand. They really are under this weird impression that Phil chose to do this. I never chose to do this. There was no active, oh, I'm making a decision that this is what I want to do. I wanted to stay at that job at helicopter support forever. That was going to be my career, and I was going to do this as a side thing that wasn't going to be a major focus of my time. But that opportunity was taken away from me by circumstances. You know what I'm saying? After that, I don't even know what I would have done. In Connecticut at the time, 10 years ago, their job market was god-awful. Like, literally one of the worst job markets in the country. Most corporations and places were leaving Connecticut. There was nothing to do besides, like, retail work. There was no way I would even be able to make enough money to do what I was doing in Connecticut at that condo with just a retail job. So, it wouldn't have been, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just kind of happened the way it did. There's no reason to second guess and say, oh yeah, I could have done this better, that better, this would have been better, because it wasn't possible. It literally wasn't possible to happen that way. You see? If anything, what I would say is, I would absolutely have done things differently. I would have not have exposed as much of my personal life and information to the internet as I did.
That's not what fucked him out of that job, though. What fucked him out of that job at helicopter support was himself. He was bitching about his bad back and how he wanted a special chair. He admitted this. He essentially was trying to, in some type of low-key type of way, he was trying to take his dad's job. Because he said his dad was making like $100,000 a year or whatever, and he said that he felt like he was qualified for this position, or for that position his father had. So he was kind of low-key trying to get that from under his pop. And then, in a lot of ways, he was disruptive. He was showing up late. He was showing up with a hangover because he was sitting there playing video games all night and drinking. He's admitted to all this. He kind of did what Darkside Phil does. He fucked himself out of his own job. And I think his dad, as any father would, tried to pull strings with him for as long as he could, but his fuck-up son is just that, a fuck-up. And he couldn't protect him. At least not forever. And eventually they had to let him go. But even then, they still gave him a severance package for the 5 or 6 years or however long he was there. They gave him a bit of a severance package, right? It was probably a bit more generous than it should have been, but they gave him that. And then he cashed out his 401k, which his father probably pushed for him to get. And then his parents took care of him after that while he was trying to start YouTube. And then I argue, but then I know I'm right because it's been proven, his parents were still giving him money throughout his YouTube career. And he's admitted it. So, yet again, whose fault was that? It wasn't circumstances. You're a fuck up. You are your circumstance, if you will. And you fucked everything up. And made your father look bad in the process. Because Phyllis had this argument too. Where, yes, my father told me to apply at his company, but they saw my skill set, they saw my credentials, and that's how I got the job. No. It's nice that you believe that, though. Go and get daddy a fucking another beer while I explain this to you. But what really happened is your father applied and they had a position open, and that's why you got in there as a sales rep. Which theoretically, you probably could have applied yourself and got it, but you wouldn't have got it for the amount of money that you were making. I don't think. I personally don't think. But it doesn't matter. The point is you got the job because daddy put you in a position to get that job. And it sounds like a pretty cushy job. You seem, and I would say one of the few times in your life you showed some ambition to have more. You weren't really willing to work for it, and it was clearly a little bit out of your realm. Because if your work was at the level that you described it as, right, then there's certain things that employers will overlook. But I don't think that was the case with you. Not with how your drinking was back in those days. Not with you staying up all night to get all those videos out. And especially when he talks about how he had the babysit videos back in the day, get them in the playlist, get titles ready, get descriptions ready and all that. And so he's doing that into the wee early mornings, and then having to show up to work, and then gets off of work, comes home, has a couple more drinks, and starts playing again. And then he's admitted, at least recently, that he was looking at making YouTube his full-time thing, his full-time job. So this narrative of, I never got paid from YouTube and whatnot the first 3 years I did it is because you couldn't. Just like when Rich said that nonsense on his end of it. Rich couldn't get paid at that time. That's why you guys didn't. Just something to think about.
Because the result of that, I would have kept a lot more things private and to myself and stopped myself from being harassed as much as I do get harassed online. I wouldn't have done as much risque stuff as I did. I wouldn't have said silly things about Kojima and other content makers, or I should say game makers. It seems like it came back and bit me in the ass over time, right? At the time, I wasn't serious about it. I was joking, but people took it seriously and ended up, really hurting me in the long run. Wait, what the fuck? There's a shaman here. Money.
Nah, I'm sorry. We got to bring that back. Because I'm not, and I already know Hate Army's done with it at this point, but I'm not done yet. Because I want to hear that one more time. Here's the thing. First off, the jokes weren't funny, and two, the way people came at him, he should have let that shit roll off his shoulders. If it was really just his opinion and that's how he feels, he should have let that shit roll off like water off a duck's ass. See, he wasn't man enough to do that. He wasn't strong enough of character to do that. And that's why it fucked him up. Other people's opinion of him fucked him up. They didn't do anything but do that. And he let it hurt him that much. That's why he admits to policing his fucking comment section the way he did. Because he didn't want any dissent. He didn't want anybody that would say something to him that he didn't like. That sounds like someone who's very uncomfortable with himself. And he's the one that's supposed to be Billy Badass. He's the most honest person on the internet. It's funny how when people say that they're the most honest, they're usually the ones that have the most to hide. Or usually they're most dishonest. And then that's when you get to situations like this, when you get to individuals like this. He did that to himself. Those people, you could say they took it too seriously all they want. How he responded to it was taking himself too fucking seriously. He became a mark for himself. And in turn, he fucked himself.
At the time, I wasn't serious about it. I was joking, but people took it seriously and ended up, you know, really hurting me in the long run. Wait, what the fuck? There's a shaman here. Money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money. Oh, money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money. Money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money. Oh, money, money, yeah, yeah. These contributions are mandatory. Money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money. Oh, money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money. Money, money, yeah, yeah. Money, money. Oh, money, money, yeah, yeah. These contributions are mandatory.
Actually, I'll say this: Warbuck isn't wrong. Phil is the kind of the type of person to win the lottery, and then they end up finding him in a hotel room later, either because he died of alcohol poisoning or some type of drug overdose, and has less than like $400 or $500 to their name. So Warbucks isn't exactly wrong on that statement. That's actually kind of true.
Money, yeah, yeah. These contributions are mandatory. Show me the money.
Alrighty. Well, that was the life and times of Darkside Phil. Such a sad story. Such a sad story. But it was amusing at times. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give me a second to square this all up. We'll reconvene for final thoughts and let you guys go on your way, because that is a thing. Shizzle, what did I lead off with? I'm just gonna assume that we went with this. That'll work. I'll see you guys in just a second.
Yeah, Eid Mubarak, you know what I'm saying? Just little bars for the Eid Mubarak. Yeah. Let's go. Tell them welcome to the rarefied. RFI, can't be up here terrified. Pterodactyl sharing, Red Baron meets Tuskegee Airman vibes. Barrel rolling, Darren dives, and back to base like he Derek Hodge. Say my prayers like I'm scared of God. In my backyard doing samurai moves, squaring pods. He's kinda squaring odd. From an era where we called sharing cobs. Being on Ohio, we want sharing cars. Mind of Aristotle, larynx of a professor emeritus. You might be your cities, but I'm America's. Fill in the blanks, kill 'em with thanks.
You know I'm just a flight away.
Okay, sorry, I had some buggy scene mechanics there. Okay, so where are we at with this? What do we make of all this? First off, big up to Hate Army Watch for this. Very much appreciate it. Yet again, the link to his video without my annoying voice is down in the description. It's real lonely at the bottom apparently. When you shit and piss and spit on everybody you thought you could spit on the way up. Boy, when you got to come down, some of those people are going to still be there. And that's what happened. He went from someone who thought he could pee on everybody because he thought they were peons to be pissed on himself. And he just can't deal with it. And it's slowly but surely breaking him. It's what happens when you don't know how to treat people. You know what I'm saying? You can have disagreements with people and not have it go any further. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people take this internet shit too fucking seriously and shit and want to have blood feuds and shit, and look at what happens. Especially when those people move on to do other shit, and other people who remember that stuff, and they may still go ahead and hold it against you. Or they may just go ahead and laugh about that shit because it's funny, and you have to be stuck with that. You got to deal with that. You would think a wiser man would know better, but that's certainly not DSP. When you think of someone who's wise, you don't think of Darkside Phil. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. And I'll see you guys for the next one. Take care of yourselves. This is the Snort Report. This is DSP News. Later, people. Yikes.
Yeah. Tell them welcome to the rarefied. RFI can't be up here terrified. Pterodactyl sharing, Red Baron meets Tuskegee Airman vibes. Barrel rolling, daring dives, and back to base like he Derek Hodge. Say my prayers like I'm scared of God. In my backyard doing samurai moves, wearing pods. He's kinda square and odd. From an era where we called sharing cobs. Being on Ohio, we want sharing cars. Mind of Aristotle, larynx of a professor emeritus. You might be your cities, but I'm America's. Fill in the blanks, kill 'em with thanks.